Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Storyist. Sometimes in life, we give to others not only because we have something to give, but because we have compassion for others. And more often than not, we do this out of kindness, and we do not think how long each act of kindness goes. Today, I will be sharing with you a story about a young millionaire who helped a homeless black teen mother, which changed her life forever. Stay until the end of the video to find out what happened. Kara is a teenage mother. She is homeless, and she wanders the streets with her little baby. She was not always homeless. She used to have a good home. A perfect one, in fact. She was born to a proper family. Her mother was a hairdresser in a famous salon, and her father had a corporate job. She had 3 siblings. 2 of them were studying in college in faraway universities, and the other one was younger than her. They used to have a loving, caring family inside their home. They were also very religious, God-fearing family who believed in virtues like chastity and marriage. Kara was happy back then. She used to have things not everyone would have. They may not have been wealthy, but they survived every day and had some left to enjoy some luxuries in life. They were a family of Black Americans, but since their whole neighborhood were occupied mostly by the same race as them, they did not experience discrimination often. So basically, Kara was never in a harsh environment growing up, so she was not entirely prepared for what was about to happen to her next. Kara was a typical teenager. She went to high school, had friends, hung out, and fell in love. It was the summer of her junior year. She was out with her friends like she would do the entire summer. She thought that day would be the same, but what she did not know was that was the day her life would change. All of a sudden, a dashing young man from her same high school approached her in the park. She was hesitant to talk to him at first, as she was always reminded by her parents not to talk to strangers, especially boys. But she had known the young man from her high school, so she thought she would not count him as a stranger. The guy talked to her and admitted that he had been admiring her for a while now. Kara felt butterflies in her stomach, as it was her first time hearing these words. She was smitten by the young man's appearance and confidence, and she knew she had a crush over him immediately. After that day, the two continued talking via phone. They would spend sleepless nights just talking to each other, asking how their day had been. Until one day, they decided to go on a real date. The first night they were together, Kara knew she was in love for the first time in her life. She was too young to confirm it, but she just felt it. The two started dating officially, and they were a great couple. Kara's parents, however, were against the relationship, as they saw it as a distraction in her studies. Despite this, Kara still kept seeing her boyfriend, and struggled as well to keep her grades up so she could prove to her parents that her love life was never a distraction in her academic excellence. However, it became harder for the couple to sneak out and have fun together or go on dates because Kara's parents were really strict. One night, a friend of Kara's threw a small get-together inside her house. Kara asked her parents if she could come, and they agreed. So she went. But what her parents did not know was that she was going with her boyfriend. When they got there, the small get-together became a party, as a lot of other people came. And when there's a party, there's alcohol. Kara and her boyfriend kissed, made out, and ended up making love in her friend's room. They were happy back then after that night, not thinking about the consequences of their actions. After a few weeks, Kara started feeling nauseous every morning, and her supposed red days did not come. She knew at that moment that she might be pregnant, so she went out to test it. And she was right. The first person she told about it was her boyfriend, expecting for him to be happy with the news. But as it turned out, the young man was not ready to be a father yet. When he heard about the news, he left Kara hanging there. He left town and changed schools. Kara was so devastated. She felt betrayed by the only guy she had loved. She went home to her parents and told her the news. Her parents were outraged, yelling at her about throwing her life away. She understood their anger, but she thought that it might die down one day. But her parents did not wait for that day to come. They immediately kicked Kara out of the house. "I warned you about that boy, and you didn't listen," yelled her mother while throwing all her stuff outside the house. Kara was weeping and begging for her parents to take her back, but they wouldn't. Kara spent the night roaming the streets, carrying a baby in her womb, and nobody cared. She tried going back to her home plenty of times since the day she was kicked out, but her family saw her as ashamed of their family and did not want her back. For months, Kara roamed the streets, begged for alms, and lived her pregnancy alone. When she was about to give birth, she approached a local charity for pregnant women to help her with her delivery. Thankfully, she delivered a healthy baby, but the problem now was where she would live with her newborn. Babies are prone to sickness, and she didn't want her baby to suffer because of her homelessness. After a few days, she got out of the charity and started begging for alms again. After a while, she found a purse full of cash. Instead of stealing it, she tried her best to find its owner in the park. Soon enough, a lady in a corporate suit walked towards her and thanked her for bringing back her purse. When the woman noticed Kara's baby in her arms, she couldn't help but ask, "Do you and your baby have a home?" Kara just shook her head. The lady was so devastated to see her answer. So she took Kara and her baby inside her car. They went to her mansion, and she told her that she would hire her as one of her helpers inside her home. And she would offer free food and lodging as well. Kara was so excited. Her life of roaming the streets and begging for alms would finally end. As they arrived, they were greeted by the other maids. But what confused Kara was the number of maids in her home. There were plenty, and the mansion was also big. But she wondered what all of the maids were needed for. "May I just ask, why do you have so many maids?" asked Kara politely. The woman smiled at her and explained that all of them were helpers in the house, and all of them used to be homeless pregnant women who had nowhere to come home to. So she took them in. Kara was so happy, and she felt so blessed that she found this woman. The lady showed her her own room. The size was enough for her and her baby. Kara was so happy, and she couldn't thank the woman enough. So she did a very good job at keeping her areas clean. She also helped in the kitchen. Since she was the youngest in the mansion, the other helpers treated her like their own daughter, too. Kara lived there for 5 years, and she had the opportunity to watch her baby grow while having a roof over her head and a stable income. She felt so grateful for all those years that the woman gave her shade and took her under her wing. But what she was most grateful of was what was about to come. As the woman had many connections, she had also many businessmen visit her home. One of them took interest in Kara and realized she was too young not to have a potential in the real world. So the businessman offered her a scholarship so she could continue her studies and eventually apply for better paying jobs. Kara was beyond grateful, both for the woman and the businessman who offered help. From then on, Kara continued her studies, graduated with honors, and worked in the corporate world, all while taking good care of her daughter. Her life indeed changed forever. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you in the next.